Hello and welcome to an old classic Amiga game review by DavidHearneWriter. I hope you like your sports management games, and if you do, you won't find one better than this. Coded back in 1993 by Michael K Lysons, as you can see on the intro screen, this is one of the best future management sports games out there. It's just so much fun. There's a lot of strategy to it. It's about getting your team from the bottom to the top, a couple of different divisions as well. It doesn't get any better, but don't expect to have a successful team on your third game. It's not going to happen. You're going to have lots of losses, just how it is. You've got to work your way up, build a team that can win, and if you put in the time, you're going to have a lot of fun with this one. Maybe an old game for the Commodore Amiga, but it's still just as much fun today. So let's take a look at the game. This is your intro screen, just came on the one disc back in the day. And yeah, I think he did a really good job putting this game together. And the fact that I'm still playing it in 2023 indicates that, yeah, it's not half bad. 30 years on, and I'm still saying it's a lot more fun than most of the sports management games that are out there today. So it's an all-time classic on the Amiga. We've got Supercars 2, and we've got Damocles, the famous mercenary follow-up from Paul Wokes. We've got Brabham and Bell's Elite 2 First Encounters. Yeah, sure, great games. They really are. But Supercars 2 is my favourite, I admit. But despite all of these great games being out there, the sports management area on the Amiga, yeah, there's a few good games, but this is the one. And the fact that it still stands up today, it's quite incredible. So I hope you're all ready to find out about this game, and I can give you some tips that will hopefully help you out. Might not get your team to the top, but it'll certainly make them more competitive if you put the time in. Alright, so it was shareware, and it was on the Amiga, and it was just top notch. Let's start a new game. So we're going to have to put our manager's name in. Now, you'd think that I can type it in, right? Here I am at the keyboard, but no, you can't actually type it in. I mean, it's an Amiga. I have a keyboard, right? My Amiga 500 had one, but no. So you've literally just got to you put your name in this way, and yeah, I mean, that's okay. It's not really a big deal. Click here when finished. Now enter your team's name. Now I'm a big Parramatta Eels supporter. They're a fantastic team. Haven't had much glory since 1986, except the grand finals they appeared in 2001, 2009, and last year, 2022. And they didn't make those ones. They weren't able to convert despite having great teams in all those eras. Anyway, that's how it goes, 86. I'm not sure if I'll live to see another Eels premiership, but I hope I will, and that's all you can do. So we're going to call it the Eels. Now, rugby league, this is not the same. This is a far more brutal sport. Slamball is as brutal as they come. I enter the stadium name, so whatever you'd like to call it. I'm just going to call the stadium Para Stadium. So you can call it whatever you like, though. A code and a team that's dear to you, and then we're pretty well ready to go. I'll take you on a tour of all of the buttons and all of the things that happen, and then we will take it from there. So week 1, we have started. Okay, Slamball is a pretty violent future sport, and that's half of the appeal. I don't think players die, but they don't come far from dying in these matches. It's not uncommon for them to be out for most of the season if they get bashed out there. It is a brutal sport, Slamball. You think of Speedball 2 on the Amiga, the arcade game. I guess this is, it's not similar per se, doesn't sort of copy anything in there. It's its own game, but I guess that would be the closest sort of arcade take on this type of game. But Slamball, it is brutal, and it is it's a lot of fun as well. Alright, so let's have a look at our players and our team and everything else and just see what we've got. All right, these are our players. So we can see their names in there. Heap of different players in there. There's Duck in the middle. There's H Vader, Jelly Jedfast, etc. Now that number you see next to them, this is their age, how old they are. Now this is a really important thing to keep an eye on because players have to retire in Slamball. They have to retire at 33. They are gone. It's just a stat in the game, if you like. It doesn't vary. So 33, they're gone. So you need to really sell them off at 31, 32 at the latest. I normally sell them off at about 30, 31, even the good ones. They've just got to go because while they're serving you well potentially, they're just going to leave your club. So you may as well get some dosh for them, right? Now what we can see in the next column here is the type of player they are. So I've got a lot of defenders, which is not a bad thing. And that's good. I've only got one attacker though. So probably see straight away with this team that I have, I'd need some players that offer a bit more in attack. So that's something that I'll need to have a look at. Now, you can drill down onto these players to have a bit of a look at them, find out a bit more about them. Let's have a look at Duck. So I just click on Duck and we find out a few different things about Duck. So that's the wage that Duck has, that type of thing. And these are the stats. So as we can see, Duck, look, not too bad. I mean, some pretty poor stats over here. Shooting, passing, tackling, stealing, artistry. Over here, strength, speed, dexterity, instinct, toughness, stamina. Look, not too bad. I mean, great stamina and good strength that's not too bad. That gives you something to work with. And with training, these players can get better, as you'll see as we go through. So that's one of the players. I would normally start by taking a look at all of them and seeing what I have. This defender here, Orlando, is just rubbish. I mean, look at these stats. There's really not much going for Orlando. Now, maybe Orlando will get better. I don't know, but I'm going to say not very good. So here we've got Zan Quan, and look, not too bad. A couple of goods in there, so that's not bad. Eric Killer. Despite the name, Eric Killer is probably going to get killed as soon as he goes out there with these types of stats. Weak, weak, weak all round. Argoth Pasta, and he sounds like he could be served at the dinner table, this fella. But he's got one very good stat for stamina, but everything else is pretty poor. And Jelly Jedfast, pretty bad again, really. Not a lot to work with. And a superb in there, a good, an average, a good. So this is really, really encouraging actually to see some of these stats. So some other things to keep an eye on are the contract length. So these will all have at least a year to run on their contract, but you have to re-sign them. If you don't re-sign them by the end of the season, guess what? You lose them. So you have to make sure if you want to keep a player, you offer them a contract. If you don't want to keep them, sell them. Don't just let them walk out the door. That is bad management. You wouldn't see Wayne Bennett or Craig Bellamy in the rugby league do that, would you? And it's not to be done. So just remember that. So I'm going to say straight away, this Orlando player is rubbish. So I want to put him on the market. And look, I can't remember what a good price is, but we might have a look at the transfer market and come back to Orlando and get rid of him. So that's our players. That gives you a bit of an idea about our players. We've got the divisions. So Division 1, these are the top-notch teams. As you can see, we are not in there. The Eels, mighty as they are not in this team. And that's good. So you know you've got to work your way from Division 2 to Division 1. And I like that. I like that it's giving you something to play for, something to aim at. And I guess the teams vary with season to season, and a lot of things happen that cause some teams to rise and some teams to fall, just like real life with rugby league. I tended to find, though, I've played Slamball a lot over the years, particularly in my misspent youth, but I found that the Maimers, Hack and Slice, Phantoms and Terror were the teams that would always sort of rise to the top, didn't seem to fall into Division 2 very often, and were always pretty hard to beat. So keep those 4 in mind. Now, if we go to Division 2, that's where we're going to see our team sitting there. So as we can see, no one's done anything yet. These are all pretty self-explanatory. How many games we've played, won, had a draw with, lost, and we've got goal fors, goals against, goal differential, and how many points do you have. So very similar to rugby league. Soccer, I go for the Brisbane Roar in the soccer, by the way. Very good team. Not enjoying their glory days, but anyway, I hope that they get back to those days one day. Okay, so now we know where we are in the division. There's also a cup, so as well as playing through the regular season rounds, we have a cup to play through. So that's something else to look forward to, and you can see who's going to be playing in all the different rounds, etc. And it gives you a bit of an idea of the schedule for when they're coming up, but let's not worry too much about that. Now, I said I wanted to have a look at the transfer list, so let's go and have a look at that. So we've got a couple of players on the market at the moment. They're defenders as well, and that's the kind of money that's being asked for them. That probably gives me an idea about what I could ask for Orlando, who we're going to get rid of. So having a look at Zar Xanadu, and probably better than my player, I'm just going to say. Look at the goods in there. In fact, despite being 25 years old, sorry, he's only 20 years old, I should say. So Zar Xanadu, look, he's probably not a bad player. I was reading his experience there, but it's based on the career games. Anyway, yeah, maybe not a bad player. We've also got PG Ezson here, so let's have a look. Yeah, I mean, not great, but still probably better than what I have. Anyway, we'll come back and put our player on the market shortly. I just want to show you some more screens in here so we can spend our dosh on these different features, and you can only do that once per round. So that's something to consider. A bit of data about yourself. Obviously, there's not going to be much there, but this does sort of tell us about gate takings, etc. Just like real life, if it's a home game, you make a lot more dosh. If it is an away game, you don't make a lot of dosh. So just be aware of that. You don't want to run out of money. We don't really have much money in the bank at the moment. We've sort of got an idea of what's coming in here with sponsorship, etc. There's our wages bill. Keep an eye on these screens. You don't want to run into debt. So just be aware of that. So I'm going to look at putting my player on the market. Just having a look at Division 1 again, because that's where I dream of being. Anyway, let's put Orlando on the market. It's probably a little bit risky, but I just want to do that. So right mouse button here will really roll through the numbers quickly. Left mouse button, slow increments. So just be aware, you can't put your cursor in and type here, because Michael didn't think we had keyboards. I'm not sure why, but you know what? I like the fact that it's all mouse driven. I think it's actually quite cool. So I'm not going to be too greedy. He's not as good as those other players. So let's ask for 278 for him and see how we go. Let's try our luck and get rid of this joker. I mean, I would just take any player. Just a sub coming in for him would do. If you don't have enough players to field a team, you will get a sub, but they're rubbish. But I'm going to say Orlando's rubbish anyway. So we're going to transfer him. He is on the transfer list for 278,000 quid. I like that quid exists in the future in Slamball, in whatever scenario we're in here. Anyway, let's hope somebody buys him, because he is not very good. Anyway, this Y is just indicating now that he is on the transfer list, so just be aware of that. Okay, I think we're probably getting close to getting ready for the match. Let's do a little bit of coaching first. So we can't spend too much dosh because we don't have a lot yet, so let's just leave it. We'll just go a little bit more, and we might just give them some toughness training. And you get a little summary of how they went. They gained a bit of benefit. They looked sharp today. The more money you spend on the training, the more your players will improve. So try to balance that out as best you can. And yeah, that's That's a really important thing to keep developing your players. But when they're really terrible like Orlando, I mean, you may as well just cut your losses and get rid of them. So I would like to get this to a point where it's built like the Parramatta team of the 90s, where we had Dean Pay and Jared McCracken and Jim Dimmick, Jason Smith, and John Simon, Chris Lawler. Super players in the mid-90s that should have got a premiership. I don't know how it didn't happen. I mean, I'm still perplexed how we didn't quite get there and lost in some of those finals. Don't mention the Canterbury one, anybody. Clinton Shavovsky, I mean, we just had so many good players at that time, and only wonder what can be. But anyway, I shall have my revenge via Slamball by bringing a team through from Division 2 into Division 1 and winning the league and the cup in the same year if I can. That's probably the measure of success, if you can do that and if you can do that consistently. So that's good. We've done our coaching. Now, from here, I guess we move on to the match. There's probably not a lot else to do. That's the next thing. Oh, fixtures, if you just want to see what's coming up. So you can just have a look, or what's coming up. I can go up or down to the next round, etc. So that'll sort of give you an idea what's coming up. So we can see our first game is going to be against the Razor Blades. So that's pretty cool in Division 2. So look, this is a really complete game, Slamball. It's really, really clever. A lot of thought went into the design of it, and it's just so much fun. And it's quite a challenge to be successful at it. I like it. You see all these games that you download now from the Apple Store or the Play Store with Google, and everyone just wants instant success straight away. And I think that's not really a good game. There's not really much challenge there where you get bells and whistles for doing nothing. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I like the old school games, and they don't get any better than Slamball. All right, let's go to the match, and I can tell you a little bit more about the strategy. Okay, so you can watch the commentary or not watch the commentary. So left mouse or right mouse will decide what we're going to do. If I click the left mouse button for this one, I can actually go in and, like I'm an observer, and I can watch the match. If I'm not interested in watching it, then I just click the right mouse button. Now this is actually the match. This is what you will see. So you set your strategy at the start, but then it's really up to you to just sit back and watch the game. I like that. That's what it should be like for a coach. You can't get on the field with them. So I really like this model, and I like the descriptive text. And with these lines, as we see, the Maimers and the Phantoms end up in a 0-0 draw. Basically, it's a different colour for each team. And that matches this. So the Phantoms in the black text, the Maimers here in the white cream coloured text. And the more lines you see running together, the closer they're getting to getting a try or points. So that's what I call them. Michael calls them a goal, so I guess it's more like soccer, but I'm a rugby league fan, so I think of it more as a try. If you like NFL, you think of it as a touchdown, I guess. And so it doesn't matter, whichever game, sport you like, this is going to really give you something to look forward to when you're playing it. So no one scored, but if we had have got probably one more line here for the Maimers on this fantastic run that they're having, then they probably would have got a goal. In fact, the black line sort of backs that up with M. Ziffel performs heroics to prevent an almost certain goal. So that just gives you an idea how it goes. So yeah, that's very interesting. Just click the mouse for the next. Now we're not going to watch the other games until we get to ours. And then we will watch that one and we'll left click. So I'm going to right click these games and we'll just go to the end results. So Hack and Slice 1 beat the Cowboys 0. Attendance 46,300. Obviously for home games this is an important number for your gate figures. So just be aware of that. Terror versus Deep Sleep. So again, not going to watch it. It's a 0-0 draw. You will see a lot of 0-0 draws, and that's okay. In the early days, you are going to take that as a win. Don't you worry about that. That's how it will be. Raiders have got the Destroyers there. And now Armour Fist and Cutting Crew. So Cutting Crew, as in I died in your arms tonight. I wonder if if Michael was a fan of that 80s band, who knows? I love these names too, Armour Fist, and all of the team names. It's just really cool. Same with the generation of the player names. I really like what's been done there. The Steel Knights versus the Psycho Crazies. Welcome to Crazy Town at the Steel Cavern. We're not going to watch again, but just see how they're going. Now the Death Demons versus the Pyrotechnics at the Hell Pit. Watch the commentary. No thanks. See who wins that one. Looks like it's a 0-all draw as well. And you'll notice the numbers dropped. So we're Division 1. We're looking at, mid 40,000. Now we're sort of down to much lower numbers, as you saw from the last game. Lucky to get 10. And that's reflective of what you'd expect being in Division 2. Okay, so we know we're playing the Razor Blades. So let's get ready to do that. And that's at Knife Edge City. So we know that's an away game. We're not going to make a lot of dosh from this one. Okay, so of course we are going to watch the commentary on this one. And also set our strategy up. So left click on your mouse to go into the game. Okay, so what we have to do is assemble our team into the positions we want. Now on the Amiga disc, Michael was kind enough to give instructions, and I recommend that you do read those through. These are only my tips. I don't know if it's great advice. I can only say it's worked well for me, and I've got to a pretty successful point with Slamball over the years. So I sort of recommend you try what's best for you, and it does depend on what you have. If you have fast players, etc., as to where you put them, but I find this works best. So this is position 1. A reserve player. I like to put an attacker in there. So we're going to put Vader. He's our only attacking option. So we're going to put him at the front there. So there we go. That's in the 1 position. In the 2 position, I would normally put here at 2 and 3. I would chuck in attack, defend. And here I would chuck in defend, attack. And this is a substitute position here. So this player will only take the field if there is an injury. So it's 5-a-side in Slamball. Anyway, I haven't got much choice. As you can see, I've got defenders. So I'm just going to put them in. Doesn't really matter a great deal. Obviously, I'm not interested in putting Orlando in there because Orlando is rubbish. Okay, so we're going to put our reserve player in as San Quan, and I think we're ready to go as far as the lineup is concerned. So I haven't even got Orlando listed here. It's not even on the bench in this position here. By the way, when I talked about those position numbers, you see current shirt. So if I click on this, that changes. So that's position 1, attacker, attack, defend in 2 and 3. And then defend, attack in 4 and 5, and 6 is your sub. Okay, now we have tactics in here. So we just change the weighting, left or right mouse button to determine that. If you've got a really fast team, for example, put more emphasis on running. If you've got a really strong, slower team, maybe you want to tackle more. So adapt this based on the makeup of your team. I tend to leave it fairly even on both, but I might just push one up rather than the other, depending on what I have. I've got obviously a team of defenders. They're not going to be great at running. They're going to be pretty good at tackling. So I'm going to put a bit more emphasis on tackling for them, and I'm actually going to put a bit less emphasis on running for them because they're not that quick. We better try to rely more on our passing game. Now, that's it. That is the limit of what you can do. But it's really important. It's really important to set things up. And I guess it depends on how you want to go into the game too. Like you can definitely stack up more attackers here if you've got them and you want to try to blow a team off the park. Similarly, if you just want to defend and keep a team out, you're just playing for a draw, then you stack your team with defenders, etc. So yeah, it's a great game. Injuries are a big problem, so it's great at the start of the season because no one's injured, but they will become injured and they might be gone for 6 weeks, 22 weeks, who knows, a long, long time. We're going to go into the game now, talk a bit about that, and then I'll wrap up with some final tactics for you after that. More about managing your players and getting the right roster uh, that you're looking for. So you can only have 10 players, by the way, so bear that in mind. And the salary cap as well does apply to this game. And if you go over the salary cap of 3 million quid, that is just taken for the league to improve things in the Slamball competition. So bear these things in mind. Okay, a bit of backstory before we go into the game as well. I said I hadn't seen anybody die in Slamball, but I've seen some pretty bad injuries in it for a very long time. You've kind of lose players for the whole season easily and some of the next season, I believe. So, but in the instructions, Michael talks about when Slamball started in the year 2101, there were 7 deaths in the first season, and the proper season started in 2102, and they sort of put in a few more rules at least, so people died less. But it's vicious, it's brutal, it's not ballet, it's Slamball. Now let's go and enjoy the game. Hopefully our team does well. We get taken on the razor blades here today. So we're going to click here when we're finished, which we are, and we're going to watch the game. All right, I'm nervous. I mean, I'm always nervous to see my team sort of go in there and try their best. Anyway, where are the black text? Oh, we almost scored there. Oh, this is tense, tense. Oh, we nearly scored again. Come on, come on. More black lines is what we're looking for, but white lines are going in there. Oh my gosh. It's tense, and it's a tie. Well, I mean, that's the summary, but we came really close. One more black line here, that being our colour, and we would have made it. They almost scored here, the razor blades, as you can see, but this just sort of gives you an idea about what's going on. I really enjoy reading these descriptions about what happens with these head-high tackles and passes. Just clipped the post, so we just missed there. Argoff Pastor made an almighty tackle on PG. Again, I love it. I love the just the brutality of Slamball and the competition of it. So you don't just tackle, you flatten other players. Unfortunately, that was us getting flattened. Very befitting name for this Razorblades player, this defender too. Todd Crumpling flattens Argoff Pastor. So there you have it. And just great descriptions about the game and what happens in here. And this is what you get for every match. You get to watch, and it's tense, and you don't know what's going to happen, and you hope. And you know, we're 0-0. We got 10,000 in the crowd. It's a away game for us. We don't really care about that. It's not the worst result, but we want better results where we start to score goals. And to do that, we're going to need to improve our roster as the game goes on. Just like managing a real team in any type of sport. So it is all there for you, and it's fantastic. Not the result I was hoping for, but you know, we are still undefeated, right? That's how I'm selling it. And at this point in 2023, Parramatta are 1 win from 5 games, playing the Tigers this Monday. Hopefully they get the vegan chocolates for that game, but we will just have to wait and see. What else can I tell you about Slamball? I've told you a little bit about roster management. I've told you to get rid of your players when they hit 32 at the latest. I normally go 31 because when they're on the market, you might not sell them. I've got no offers so far for my player. I'll probably have to drop the price and try again. I've said don't end up with more than 3 million or you just lose that money. 10 players is the max that you're going to look for. I think they're the main things. This is a game of patience, building up your roster, picking the right players in the right position. So you're putting your best team forward, and managing your injuries, because sometimes 3/4 of your team is injured and then subs are coming in. So I like to recruit the players as young as I can on potential, develop them with training, and that contract management was just the other thing I said to be mindful of, that remember to offer them contracts, otherwise they will leave you. So this is indicating if I wanted to put in an offer to H Vader, I could just go and do that for how many years I wanted to do that. But already 3 years on the contract, so I'm not too worried. Never let them leave. You should sell them and at least get something back, because money is a challenging thing in the early days of Slamball. So yeah, look, that pretty well sums up. You can resign. Don't click this button and think Michael's going to go, well, are you really sure? If you click this button, you are done. Your game is over. So there's no mucking around in Slamball. If you say something, you mean it, and you'll live by it. So a click there is the end of the game. So only do that when you're fairly successful. You might have noticed earlier I started my coaching career at the age of 34. So I guess there comes a point where the game perhaps ends when you reach a certain age. I'm not sure. I mean, look at Wayne Bennett, still coaching in his 70s. Maybe Slamball will let you do the same thing. So we might just do one more match, and then I think we'll wrap it up. We've covered the fundamentals, I think, pretty well. Not a great deal more to show you in here. Let's just see if anyone else has come up on the market. I wouldn't mind another player. So there's our Orlando in there. I wouldn't mind having a crack at this player here. He's got some pretty good stats. Now, what can I offer them? So, yeah, look, I don't think I would have enough, and in fact, I don't have enough to make any sort of serious offer. So, yeah, that's just not going to happen. That's a bit of a shame, but I guess if I sold 2 duds and bought 1 good player, I'd be happy. So have a think about things like that. Maybe even 3 duds and getting 1 good player, I'd be happy. Although if you don't have enough players and you get some injuries, you are in a heap of trouble. Might do a bit more coaching. I'm going to spend a bit more this time. And let's work on, I guess with the training, you should look at what your players' collective weaknesses are. So if they're all weak with speed, focus on speed, for example. My players are all rubbish pretty well. A couple of okay players. It doesn't really matter. Any development that I do is probably good. So we might work on some dexterity, and we get a little bit of commentary on here for how their training went again. And we prepare to go into the next match. So let's go into the second game. Deep Sleep versus the Maimers, the Snooze Pit. And big numbers for their crowds. Another draw in Division 1. So we'll just quickly go through these games. Destroyers versus Hack and Slice. Again, pretty good crowd numbers for another draw. Phantoms versus Terror at the Ethereal Plane. It's very cool. Very cool, all of these names. Terror get away with that one. Very good team. Cowboys I've seen end up in Division 2, so that's why I sort of don't rank them all that highly. The Raiders are not the Canberra Raiders, by the way, but pretty cool. I did think of going in and just using a hexadecimal editor and editing all these teams to be NRL Rugby League games, team names, but I haven't done that. Maybe it's something I will do down the track, but you know what? I don't think you need to alter Slamball. When you get into the experience of it all with the teams, it's just a lot of fun, and you'll get to know the teams quite well. So we're obviously coming around to our game shortly, and Eels are taking on the Steel Knights at Para. So finally we get a home game. We get some gate takings. So you can't do advertising or anything like that to attract sponsors, but maybe Michael will give us Slamball 2 one day on the PC, on Steam or something, and I can assure you I would be signing up to buy that. And you never know, right? I mean, 30 years on, the 30-year anniversary edition of Slamball might come out this year, right? 30 years. Anyway, and still so good. Let's go into the game. Are we ready? Let's get setting up our players. Look, this worked pretty well for us last time, bearing in mind I've got more of a defensive team. I might put a bit more emphasis on tackling because I'm more interested probably in defending. Given this, I've only got the 1 attacker, I'm probably not going to have a lot of luck. We haven't seen an injury so far, but don't worry, it happens. It's remembered my player position assignments, so they're already in their right spots. So let's go to the match. And we're off. Eels in the cream text this time. Oh, it's on. Oh, they nearly scored, the Steel Knights. Come on, boys. You can do it. Come on. Oh, Steel Knights just kept out. We had a couple of good things in here, there and there, but we just didn't. Like, there's a great pass here from Vader through to Duck, for example, but we were tackled, and then they got the ball, the Steel Knights. So, yeah, I mean, again, you just have to take a 0-all draw as not too bad, considering we don't have a great team. But the other plus for you is in Division 2, some of the opposition teams aren't that good either. I think the Steel Knights came very close to scoring here, and they also came close to scoring here. So when you see these types of tackles, Lewin makes a ferocious tackle on Duck. So these are the ones that can injure you, but we're not injured because it would have told us, but we nearly got injured here with Vogaz Yazon tackles hard and low, nearly injuring Eric Killer. So Eric Killer nearly copped it there and could have been out for a long time. So they're the types of things that you are going to have to deal with. So am I wrapped about that? No, but look, it could be worse, right? It could be worse. And we're going to come to the Cup and all those things soon as well, which is great. And now we're 2 rounds into the Slamball League. I guess we could have a look at where we sit. Let's just have a quick look at that. So there we are. We haven't had any losses yet. We're sort of sitting mid-table. Could be worse, right? But unlike Armour Fist, Cutting Crew and the Psycho Crazies, we don't have a win on the board yet. So that's obviously where we need to be. Well, that's Slamball. Michael K Lysons doing an Amiga classic, best sports management game. So much fun. I still enjoy it after all these years, and I think you will too if you give it a go. It's there's enough complexity to it. There's some nice strategic thinking that you've got to employ to get the best out of your team, but you're not going to be an overnight success. And I suspect that maybe some people tried Slamball in the day and it wasn't that easy, and they didn't get the instant win, and they went, this is too hard. Just stick with it. If you're patient and you recruit well, you look after your players, you look after your roster, you make smart decisions with that roster, and like any sports game, roster management is the key, then you can end up with a successful team. So give it a try. You can find Slamball by Michael K Lysons floating around in lots of different places. If you were to search for it, I'm sure you would be able to find it. And get in touch with Michael on Twitter and give him that £5 if you do end up enjoying it as well. All these 30 years later, he'll be surprised. I'm about to do that right now, and I'm going to touch base with him and just see if I can fix him up, because I never did that back in the day. So my game, my contribution, I guess, to the Amiga scene, yes, I did do a game. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You go Google it if you want to find it and have a go. It's not great. The last thing I wanted to mention was I'm a writer, so I do have a few books out there, including Escape from the Commodore 64. I mainly do screenplays though, so I enter the competition circuit and get a few wins here and there. But the thing I wanted to mention was I do pay homage to Slamball in more than one of my books, but the one I wanted to mention where I do mention this game is and pay homage to it is Starfarers and Tharnians in Space is the name of the book. And the bit that pays homage to Slamball, it says in the book somewhere, there's a bit that says about one of the characters as follows. He used gestures to turn on the screen and flick between movies and a violent football-like sport called Slamball, played somewhere called Lysons Stadium. Players bashed each other in an effort to get their mitts on the ball. It seemed brutal, yet strategic. So there it is, and a tribute to Michael as well. I named the stadium after him. I mean, why not? Who else would you name it after? This was his masterstroke of a game, and I'm in Michael's debt for providing me so much entertainment over the years with Slamball, and you will be too if you give it a go. If you get yourself an emulator on your A500 Mini perhaps, or WinUAE or whatever works for you, go get your mitts on Slamball and see if you can bring your team all the way up to Division 1, win the league and get the cup. This has been DavidHearneWriter talking all about Slamball today. I hope you've enjoyed this review, and more importantly, I hope you give Slamball a go. Bye for now.